Hi, good morning, everybody. You can hear my thick black country accent for yourselves now. That's it, okay. I just wanted to start by saying that I think often, daily, that I must have the best job in the world because we're living in such a hugely exciting time and new technologies are emerging every single day. And this offers us, people who work in city regions and work around transport, this just never-ending opportunity to think about how we can leverage technology to make sure that our cities and our regions are cleaner and greener and more sustainable and more innovative. And the only problem is that sometimes it's almost overwhelming at how fast it is all moving. And I'm here to give sort of a public sector perspective about what are some of those challenges for us, what are some of the opportunities, and where we think our role might be. Because you've only had a little bit of coffee and it's slightly dark in here, I thought I'd start by being a little bit controversial. So the first one is the question, which is mobility as a service hype, or is it genuinely an opportunity? I can feel shudders of people going through, oh, it's not hype, it's not hype. But that's an important question I think we want to answer. And then now that I know that Andy's on the board of Mobility as a Service, I'll give him my big challenge, which is, as exciting as I've just painted the world that we're living in, isn't Mobility as a Service the worst name ever for anything? And surely we can not only rename that, we can rename Mobility as a Service because it is actually something that's incredibly exciting, disguised as something with a really lame name. So I've learned now, since living in the UK, it's actually really important to tell people where the West Midlands is, because I assume everybody knows, but actually you'd be amazed how many people don't. So who are we? Well, the West Midlands Combined Authority, we're right in the middle of the country. We are part of the West Midlands Combined Authority, which means that our role is very much about seeing transport as part of how we want to deliver economic regeneration, employment, housing, and skills, and genuinely change the lives of the people who live in our city region. Just a little bit about the main cities. Birmingham, the West Midlands itself, just short of 3 million people. Birmingham is the second biggest city in the UK, and interestingly and appropriately, it's also the youngest city in Europe, I'm told, which gives us a huge opportunity, especially when we're talking about what we can do around intelligent mobility and how do we harness the energy of our young population and what it is that we're trying to achieve. What challenges do we face? I think like most global cities, we face the same challenges, which is, and I'll come on to them in a little bit more detail, but urbanization, which is obviously a global trend, sustainability, which is a worldwide need, and how we use digitalization, which is what I led about the exciting challenges that we have. This is high tech for a public sector slide, you'll be pleased to know. Just a little bit more about some of the specific transport challenges that we face. Huge opportunities. We're right at the middle of the UK's motorway and rail network. Most things come to and through the West Midlands. That's a great opportunity for us, but disruption is massive. Resilience of our network isn't where it needs to be. And sometimes instead of having that being helping economic prosperity, being well located actually hurts our prosperity. This is the vision of where we want to be. We have a devolution deal with government through the West Midlands Combined Authority. It's £8 billion over 30 years, and that terrifying figure of 4.4 billion in transport schemes. It's important that I think that we are rightfully ambitious for what we want to achieve in our region. Accommodating growth. Again, our population is forecast to grow hugely by 2035. That's the size of Liverpool moving into the region. How are we going to build the homes? How are we going to keep the infrastructure where it needs to be? And more importantly, how are we going to move goods and people around? And how are we going to do that in a sustainable way? Clean air. Outside of London, we have some of the most severe exceedances of the noxious values in the UK. Birmingham city center is especially bad. A lot of that is road transport. We're working on clean air zones, but this is a really important part. This is the sustainability part of the challenge that we face. And, you know, I want to be really clear about what is it that we want to see. We want to see fewer single occupancy car journeys in our region. That is the absolute goal of what we're trying to achieve in the West Midlands. And outside of we need to getting people out of their cars, we have to be able to provide people a real alternative to the journey that they want to make. If we're ever going to convince somebody to get out of the car, which is a very comfortable and possibly pleasant environment to be in, and change the way that they travel. And that's huge. So what is it that people say to us? Well, we get this a lot about public transport. It takes me on a journey from a place that I didn't want to start to a place that I didn't really want to finish. Which isn't really what we're trying to achieve. And then what do they say about being in the car? Well, there are too many cars on the road, and it's too expensive to park, and it seems to be getting worse all the time. So we have sort of a perfect storm, really, but the only way as a local authority, I think, that we're going to be able to deal with this is to try to listen to what it is that people are saying, and then try to adapt. Not necessarily something the public sector is hugely great at, but try to adapt to the way that people want to travel in the future. So mobility as a service, can it help? Why did we decide to do a pilot? What are the principles that sit behind it? We really want, and we are going to be the first area in the UK to trial this outside of Helsinki. But how did we do it, and why did we do it? Well, the first thing was that we developed a strategy. Now, that's something the public sector is good at, is doing strategy. And we actually gained political support to do that pilot. We didn't want to commit to public funding, and this is an important principle, but we really wanted to learn quickly about what opportunities that we have. So what we did was we went out to the market and we used our relationships with other operators and authorities to help bring a partnership together. And I think actually that's a real role for the public sector. It's possibly we don't necessarily need to be leading on the innovation. That's not what we do. We don't need to design the technology. That's not our specialty. But where we can play a role is in that facilitation of bringing all the right people together to have the right conversation. I'm assuming most people in the room know what mobility as a service is. And it is essentially, the way I think about it and the way I explain it to people who don't know it, is it's essentially like a phone contract for your travel. So you can buy a contract that gives you a range of options of how you want to travel. You pay one price, you get one ticket, and you get a seamless journey. Now that journey might be partially using a black taxi, then getting to a train station, arriving at Milton Keynes, unlocking a Santander bike, and biking here. And that might be your whole journey, and you decide what you want to buy, and you purchase that as one unit. The big question to us is, can we make this better and more attractive than owning your own car? The only way this will succeed is if it is as easy and probably actually easier than owning your own car. So can we do journey planning? Is it easy to make that transaction? Can you use flexible payment? How are we going to manage the user experience? And how do we make that experience personal to each of the user? So what are the opportunities for us as Transport for the West Midlands? They're really simple. It supports our policy goals. As I said, we want more people on public transport. We think if it works well, it can help stimulate economic growth, help job creation. It can make better and more reliable transport and help us with our data and making our data more accessible. For customers, it should be personalized. It should be easy to use. We want to take some of the hassle out of the best price. That's a real challenge for people using public transportation outside of London, where I think people are quite confident that they're getting the best price. It's not that simple in areas where we have a deregulated market. Making people have the most efficient use of their time. So when I try to get somebody out of their car onto a train, I say, you're just wasting time. You know, time is ever more important to all of us. You could be working, you could be on Facebook, whatever it is, tweeting, whatever people do. You don't have to waste your time sitting in a car, which is beginning more and more, I think, for people to feel like dead time and time that they can't get back. And it's got to be easy, so the subscription and the payment need to be effective. Again, it comes back to making more use of the networks that we have. I think James made a good point. We have fixed infrastructure, right? It's not really easy in the UK to make roads wider. The built environment is constrained. How are we going to make the most of what fixed infrastructure we have? And this will help us to do that. And also, we want to help our operators gain revenue, because then they continue to invest in our region. They put more services on. It's better for the traveling public. So what might it look like? This is just an illustration. This isn't exactly probably what it's going to look like. Like I say, it's being trialed in Helsinki, and I was there recently to try to understand how that first pilot is working. It's a really different urban environment to the West Midlands, so it'll be interesting to see how it works there and how it works with us. But again, it's a package. It's a package that can be personalized. It's a package that you choose. You can choose what modes of transport you're using. You can choose what kind of package you want. And again, I keep coming back to it being like an early mobile phone. So many people start with pay-as-you-go. You know, you're testing it, you're seeing how much you use it, how much data do you use, is this the right package for you? And then most people eventually wind up buying some sort of a package from a pay-as-you-go once you understand what it is that you want. And I think that MaaS will be similar to that if it works well. So what do we think interests the customers? The information on price, the information about time traveling that you're going to spend, the convenience, the fact that inevitably if you are using public transport as part of your journey, even if it's not all of your journey, you're making a choice that's better for the environment. Key will be reliability and consistency and quality of service, because if we don't get those things right, people won't use it, and that much we know for sure. So where are we now in the West Midlands? We've brought together a commercial partnership. I think that's where we've added value. We've got the tram, we've got the bus, we have rental car, we have taxi operators, we have Silver Rail and a bike scheme, and we've got all of those operators together, and all of them agreed to sign an MOU to agree to run this pilot. Again, we haven't provided any funding to make this happen. It's just the time that we've spent bringing those partners to the table and helping them understand what we think the opportunity is here. So it's going to be through the WIM app, and we are going to release that internally to users in the next few weeks so that we can sort of have a soft launch internally and see how it's working before we take it out to, I think, 500 users across the West Midlands is what we're aiming for in the autumn. And we're going to see then how it works. And just importantly, for us, and I think it's an important lesson for the public sector. But what are some of the side effects from it? You know, what we're trying to create in the West Midlands is a collaborative culture. We want to tap into the intelligence that we know that we don't possess ourselves, that citizens have it, our stakeholders have it, our partners have it. So how do we become a body that helps to co-create solutions to help deal with what are some of the big problems that urban city regions face? And I'm hoping by trying to pilot this, what it shows is that we're a region that's a willing partner, that's proactive, that is adaptable, and it is trying to set the scene. And because of that, we've had interest from other providers. We've got other people who think, well, maybe this is a region who want to trial something, and different ideas coming forward, like just a bit of an idea, sort of come play here, come test what you can here. And again, it's already making some of our partners think more carefully about what they want to do about mobile ticketing. And then we think about the size of the prize. And I heard somebody from MaaS speaking in Helsinki recently. And their vision is one which I think is really interesting, which is how can we get to a point so you can travel not only throughout the UK, but throughout Europe using one app. and a way to purchase tickets that you can actually plan whatever journey that is that you want through your smartphone, and that you can customize it, you can pay for it, and that you can have that kind of seamless travel. And that, to me, seems really a prize worth fighting for. And so is it hype or is it an opportunity? I don't think we have the answer yet in the West Midlands. We really don't, but we're really proud to be the area that's going to try it first and to see what we can learn about solutions, where we can adapt and where we can change, so that we can ultimately achieve the goal which James set out, which we all want to see, which is that changed behavior change in and around certainly our urban area. Thank you.